Welcome to another episode of Near Post Podcast. To be honest, big episode for the boys today. We got some good guests on today. We produced the goods. We got Grizz Khan from LFC Daybreakers, and we got his co-host for Carnage, Avi. Lads, how he's getting on? And thanks for joining the boys.
No problem, man. No problem. Absolute pleasure. As you guys, I was telling you off screen, I'm not feeling great, but an absolute pleasure to be on with you guys. I couldn't say no to you guys.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me on. Just to let you guys know, I'm just Grizz Khan's PA, so all the questions that you have, just direct them that way.
Don't listen to him. He's the silent but violent one in the background. You know, he's the brains behind the whole operation. So don't be falling for his crap.
Avi's silent but deadly. Pierre, how are you getting on, lad?
Yeah, not too bad. Hopefully my Wi-Fi holds up for 40 minutes or half an hour.
Please God. But look, we're on. But thank God we're chatting about another Liverpool win. I'm going to go straight into that. I know the Kane news just broke, but let's be honest. Let's just put a bit of respect on Alisson Becker's name. And
100.
Honestly, man's had the year from hell. Not even football, just in general off the field. Like his attitude, just the way he conducts himself, sort of thing, just top class. And like you just couldn't be happy for him. That interview after was nearly better than the goal. So, Grizz, I'll start with you. Massive win for us yesterday, but it's all about Alisson, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, someone was asking me, sort of how do you rate our chances of getting into the Champions League? And I said, after the Newcastle game, I would have said we need miracles. Like, you know, when we dropped points to Leeds and Newcastle in consecutive weeks. And then we go to Old Trafford where we've not got the best results in recent history and we smashed them 4-2 with Phillips and Williams at the back against the much coveted Cavani, Rashford, Pogba, Bruno, etc. So that's miracle one. And then we go to West Bromwich and in the 96th minute, our goalkeeper goes in the penalty box and headers in the most artistically fantastic, technically brilliant header that Oliver Bierhoff or Jurgen Klinsmann or, you know, any of these would have been proud of. Like, he was a textbook fucking header. I know he's Brazilian, but is he taking the piss or what? I mean, he actually managed to curl it with his head and swivel at the same time. So yeah, brilliant. And that was miracle too. And as a result of those miracles, we are here now, where it's actually in our destiny, lads. It's in our own. Our destiny is in our own hands. And you know, who would have thought that 5-6 weeks ago? But this is why this is the beautiful game, and you just fucking never know what's going to happen. And so yeah, we have last week I phrased it as the door's shut, but there's a window open. I think there's a door open now. So we've actually found a secret door, and it's up to us. I think so, lads.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie, Avi. Me and Pierre, like a month or two ago, we were off top four completely, didn't we? Like
about February.
When the carrot was dangled, we weren't nibbling. Like it was there. Leicester might drop points, other boys might drop points, but we weren't really didn't want to get on the hype train. But Avi, can I ask you about Thiago's performance yesterday? Because obviously it is going to go under the radar with what happened, but man, he's just kind of upped his level last few games, and he was absolutely sick.
He has, and just last few weeks I've been saying that he's still doing a little bit too much running on the pitch to where we actually want him in this team. But he was phenomenal yesterday. He was my man of the match. I know everyone wants Alisson, and rightly so, but I thought Thiago was brilliant yesterday. And another thing that he sort of curbed is his tackling. Phenomenal. I think he won 3 out of 3 challenges yesterday. I know, it doesn't sound great, but he hasn't picked up a yellow card either in the last sort of 3-4 games. So he's definitely tuning it on. I thought on Thursday he was superb, and he's the player that we sort of signed now. He's in tune with this team. He knows what Salah wants. He knows what a Bobby or a Thiago, a Jota is looking for. He knows the players around him, and I think that's because he's got a settled defensive midfielder alongside him in Fabinho. When Fabinho and Henderson were playing as centre backs, Thiago was covering like 9 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 11 kilometers a game. That's not Thiago's game. He predominantly works around that center circle where he pings passes and he dictates from there. So no, he was superb yesterday. He was absolutely brilliant. There was one ball that he played, I think, to Robertson, just sort of, again, I think just the way he sort of crisps that ball just across the sort of, across that foot of the ball and just went ping right into Robertson's left foot. And I think it's the way he sort of passes these. It's as if he sort of caresses these balls, and like you just don't notice it. But I think when you actually watch him, you're watching literally a visionary. He is, and that's why he's highly rated around the world. And it's taken him time, with that challenge against from Richarlison, but he's in tune now. And I think next season, I've said it on Twitter as well. I think next season, it's that's where you're really going to see the real Thiago.
Yeah, like even he does all the right things, but he's great to watch. You're just watching the game, even his feet, his movement, the little swerves. Like,
and he's a little bulldog as well. Like, don't be fooled by his sort of bold face, clean shaven. Yeah. He's a little dog. Even against Cavani on Thursday, it was a nothing challenge, but the way he sort of added the extra role and stuff, like he knew what he was doing, getting that yellow card for Cavani on Thursday. But yeah, he's a little snide, and we need more of that in our team, to be honest.
Yeah, you can see though, like the experience just oozes out of him when he's playing. You can just tell this guy's been doing it for years. And
100.
I'd say, except for Liverpool fans, for a while they haven't really been appreciating it because he's not the guy to rack up numerous assists, numerous goals. He's kind of the pass before that, dictating the tempo.
Yeah.
But now I think the whole league is starting to see it because he's been phenomenal, and especially for me, what's been most impressive is the tackling, because he was guaranteed to get a yellow card, a few weeks, and silly ones as well. But now he's leaving the challenges in there. He's getting other players yellow cards, and he's really showing the class. And this is the Thiago we wanted.
It was frustrating because he was picking up not these yellow cards late on in the game. He was picking up early on in the game, like in the first half against Southampton. The first 3 minutes, he picks up a yellow card, and that totally ruins his rhythm because he likes putting in these little snidey sort of tackles and tries to get away with it. But I think he's got that notion as well. Like he knows how these English referees work now. It's taken him quite a while to get used to it, but he knows what he can get away with and what he can't get away with.
He's realised how bad they are.
Exactly.
Me and Pete have said on numerous shows, like with VAR and stuff, we're not going to go into that, but just VAR just highlights how bad the refs are. It doesn't highlight how bad VAR is, sort of thing, with these decisions. So you seen even when he first came, when he'd be shocked, the memes are on Twitter. He was so shocked when some of these decisions were made. Like, so yeah, he's just been a class act last month or so. But in terms of top four race, Leicester, Chelsea, I'm going to move on. Obviously, we like to chat about other teams. Me and Pete did a video a month or two ago, just kind of putting a bit of respect on Brendan Rodgers' name. He's always been touted as a bottler, this and that. I never really got it, to be honest. But Grizz, even at Liverpool, I always felt he kind of got maximum out of them players that season. Like, we weren't meant to even compete for a title, never mind being within inches of one.
People often underplay that. You're right. You're spot on. I just think the timing of his move to Liverpool was bad for him. He was a young coach. He was an up-and-coming coach. And taking over at Liverpool, it's probably one of the biggest jobs in world football, especially, the sort of the search for the Holy Grail. I just don't think he was ready for it. But as a coach, everywhere he's gone, he's improved players, and that's what you got to look at as a coach. People have an issue with his personality and his ego, but who gives a shit about his personal ego? We got to look at his coaching ability and how his teams are set up and how they play. And I think, look, people talk about Celtic, but a treble is crazy. Even for Celtic,
playing great football as well,
playing some brilliant football, right? So you can't just sort of slash that at him every time. The football Leicester City have been playing. Leicester City, people often talk about, they dropped away. Me and Gav, we have regular fallings out. I don't know if you guys have heard us talking about Brendan Rodgers. I mean, he regularly sort of talks about Brendan Rodgers. What's the word he uses? I can't remember. I don't want to misquote him. Actually, I could because I don't give a fuck. But Gav often says about sort of Rodgers, frauders. That's what he called him, frauders. And I say, Gav, you can't say that because if you ask any Leicester City fan, what are they expecting at the start of the season? A top 6 finish, and they'll bite your hand off. They're messing with some super heavyweights amongst these teams, millions and millions to spend. Yes, Leicester spend money, but they spend it very cleverly and astutely. And people talk about Leicester falling away, but guys, you know how much we've moaned about injuries from a Liverpool fan point of view. Leicester City have had horrific injuries throughout the season as well. Yeah, we haven't heard a whimper from them. They just carry on. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think he's only going to get better. I try to put aside his individual characteristics and his ego, because none of us know him on that level to be judging him on that. So we can only judge him on the players and how he sets them up. He may sometimes be seen to overcomplicate certain things, but again, he's still, if you think about it, fairly young. So he's still learning the art of coaching and when to change things, when not to change things. I thought it was significant, even only yesterday in the cup final, not yesterday, was it cup final? Saturday. When, for example, Johnny Evans gets injured after, I don't know how many minutes.
25, 30 minutes, like early.
And he's a mainstay of he's the main organizer of that team. And I thought to myself, the old Brendan Rodgers would have changed the whole system just because he's coming off. But he didn't. He brought in who was a right wing back, Castagne, used him as a third centre back, and kept the same system. So simplifying things, he'll learn how to do that as he goes along in his coaching career. I think he's a fantastic coach, guys. I genuinely do. I think he'll only get better. Possibly, even he's destined to take over a bigger club. Even no disrespect to Leicester, but he could possibly be at a bigger club.
I think when he first came to Liverpool, just a quick one on this. That Being Liverpool documentary, I didn't think it did him any favors. I think he was portrayed to be someone that he isn't, and we saw that whole Sterling incident on that documentary. The whole
remember that too.
The 3 envelopes, and the way he was talking as well. And when Joe Allen scored, he called it Joe Allen signed from Swansea. He called him the Welsh Xavi. I think it didn't help him, and everyone had this perception of this guy thinks he's a bit of a smart ass. And 2013 and 14, everyone will say, "Oh, Suarez had a phenomenal season. That's why you guys got close to the title championship." But he actually genuinely done really well. I think the Balotelli signing in the 3rd season, I think Gerrard leaving, the whole if he's staying, if he's not staying, I think there was some backroom conflicts. The committee, which players were signed on his behalf, or which players were being signed by the committee. I didn't think that helped, but I don't think his personality was strong enough at that point to dictate who he wanted into the team. So some of the signings, like the Lazar Markovic's, like, the Mario Balotelli's, and I think there were a few others that summer that we had. They were not sort of the signings that he wanted to make, and they were made for him. But again, I don't think he had that personality. I think Celtic was a great move for him to get away from it, collect a few trophies. I think he did 2 trebles on the trot. Come to Leicester City. I thought Leicester City was a great fit for him, and he's got owners that believe his vision as well. I know, God rest his soul, Vichai's son, who's taken over now. But I think even when Vichai was in charge, they trust his sort of ethos, and they're letting him have his blueprint on this Leicester team. And now you're seeing the rewards. They're 3rd. They've won a cup. And I think like Grizz said, if they were offered top 6 this season, they would be really happy, considering that they had Claude Puel, who. The football that they were playing under him was absolutely dross.
Yeah,
that definitely is the biggest problem, though, with Rodgers, because I really like him as a coach. I think his system's very efficient, and I just think at Liverpool it was a bit too early. Mm-hmm. You talk about replacement managers for any, like, he is a top level coach, and I think give him another year or two, gets more traction around the league, gets a bit more respect, because. Like we've been saying it for a while now, that's what he deserves. He is fantastic. He is a good coach. What he done at Celtic, like people, I remember when that happened and people were writing off because they're saying, "Oh, it's Scotland, it's only Celtic." Well, what's happening this year? You look over. People say it's a 1-horse race. Obviously not. Steven Gerrard after walking the league this year. So goes to show.
Can I ask you guys a question then?
Yeah.
So say if Klopp does leave in 2024, right? Say he's got 3 more years, and in that time, Rodgers has got 4 consecutive top 4 finishes. He's added another sort of League Cup, another FA Cup. Would you take him back?
I'd take him back in a heartbeat, because even just on the thing at Celtic, like, he literally won every trophy available he could have. Like, he literally did the perfect job. Like, I don't know how that can be slandered, that sort of thing. Now you look at Leicester, he doesn't even have one style, because he can play a bit of counter-attacking as well. He's showed that, but then they can do the possession-based stuff as well. So he can alternate. He's been at big clubs. Obviously, he's been at Liverpool. I would consider Leicester a big enough club now. Celtic are obviously a massive club. So there's not that many good coaches out there available. I'd take him back in a heartbeat. Would he go back? Maybe he would, because he'd have kind of unfinished business there, sort of thing. So in a heartbeat, I'd take him back if Klopp was to leave in a few years, sort of thing. Not to take over from Klopp now.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of kind of managers going back to previous clubs, but I think it would be a great fit, you know, with the football he likes to play and the kind of attitude he has towards everything. But it's a tough one to say. Like, it's going to be another few years. What way does the team shape up then? What other managers are on the market? Because we all know we're all teeing up that Steven Gerrard, hopefully in a couple of years. I think 2024 might be a bit too early for him, but, you know, we're always teeing that up in the back of our minds, because we'd all love to see it.
Grizz?
You say that. I'd never want that to happen, Grizz. I don't know about you, but I just wouldn't like I'd want Gerrard to do an exceptionally good job at a Premier League club before he even thought about coming with us. It's just the pressure will be on him, the legacy sort of thing. I don't know if I'd actually want that to happen anytime soon, Steven Gerrard.
Yeah, I change my mind. I change my mind every so often about Steven Gerrard. I totally get what you're saying. Absolutely, I understand. It would be the worst nightmare if he was to sort of ruin his legacy in any way. But I genuinely don't think anything can ruin Steven Gerrard's legacy at Liverpool. That's the other thing. You know, I, for one, would never, ever say anything about him. You know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I get the whole idea and hope that he could sort of do another job at a Premier League club and kind of prove himself. But then I'd hate for him to be at another Premier League club also. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's one of those ones. Maybe go abroad and take charge of a Real Sociedad or something, or you know, something like that, and sort of have a successful managerial or have successful managerial experience before he came to Liverpool. But then, guys, this kid is the guy that had pressure all his life when he was at Liverpool, guys. He was a genuine world-class player. You know, pressure doesn't faze him. Like, he doesn't give a shit about pressure. He's lived under pressure. He played under pressure every single week with some of the shittest players in our history. It just so coincided with some of our poorest players that he played with. So it was all up to him every weekend. It would be Steven Gerrard or nothing. Obviously, until Suarez joined in the latter of his career, and Alonso and players like that. But I don't know. It's the ultimate dream. I genuinely do believe that he will 100% be a Liverpool manager. It's just a matter of what stage. Will it come after this Jurgen Klopp, or will it come after the next coach after Jurgen Klopp? Which wouldn't be brilliant, because that would mean the coach after Klopp has failed. So that scares me as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of those ones. The board will have a massive decision to make come 2024. So, you know, let's just enjoy it until then, man.
As you said, though, Grizz, like he's lived in pressures his whole career, but I think any player as a manager has a bit of extra pressure. You look at, like, even now, I think Stevie's under a bit more pressure. Frank Lampard, I said to all these guys, remember Gary Neville in Spain, like, it's just going to happen because they're already an established name or whatever, but it wouldn't tarnish his legacy in any way. Look what Frank done at Chelsea there. Like, that's no way represented him now as what he done as a player. You know, King Kenny's second stint, Liverpool wasn't great. That hasn't tarnished his legacy, so it's not really an issue for me, Dermot.
No, it's not. And let's be honest, lads. We're in dream that if Gerrard did lift that Premier League as manager, like it would be worth 3 or 4 Premier Leagues. Let's be honest, it would be nothing could be it. If we all had to pick one player to lead us to a title as a manager, we'd all probably say Gerrard still. I mean, it would sicken every opposing fan to the hill more and more. It would just be beautiful. So that is the other side of it. But even at Rangers, like what he's done, and Invincible, like I don't care if it's not a great league. To go Invincible anywhere, where Celtic were going for 10 in a row, by the way, it's not like Rangers were just dominating. He stopped at 10 in a row. Like, think of the pressure on him this year to stop at 10 in a row. I don't think that's been done in Scotland. So, Avi, like, he has shown, for me, that's a really, really impressive what he's done this year. 102 points in the Scottish League.
100%. And not only the Scottish League and what he's done with it's the way he's handled like personalities like Alfredo Morelos, you know, big personalities who think they can play at a higher level, and he can probably play at a higher level, but he's handled him quite well. You know, he's not got as many red cards as he has picked up in previous seasons, and when he does pick up silly fouls, Gerrard calls him up on it. I think one thing that gets really underrated is his record in Europe. He's done really well. They've taken some big scalps this season. Benfica away, you know, on the cusp of winning. I think they drew 3-3, but he's taken some big scalps in Europe in the last 2 years. So, you know, I think he's still learning on the job. I think a perfect job for him would be somewhere like RB Leipzig, you know, where they've got loads of youngsters. They've got a sort of method approach of how they want to run as a football club. I think he'd be brilliant at a foreign league. And then maybe, if the time's right, him or a certain Javi Alonso could come in as a double act.
Bring them back, Peter. That'll be the ultimate dream. If something like that, like we couldn't not get on that bandwagon. We couldn't not pick that up. Imagine Javi and Stevie G on the sideline. I think he was going to go to Mönchengladbach, but then I seen is that like I seen that was nearly confirmed, but then it was just I haven't heard anything since. But just before breaking news though this evening, like we've chatted a lot about Harry Kane. He wants to leave. I think everyone knew he wants to leave, but I've said previously he needs the fake injury. He needs to not train sort of thing to get out of Tottenham, because
make a big deal.
Let's be honest, if he doesn't really push it, it's never going to happen for him. So he's kind of got the ball rolling now early. Do you think he actually will leave? And like, does he go to England or does he go abroad? Where do you think he's going?
Do you want me to take that? Sorry.
Yeah, Grizz. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I think I don't see how anyone can sort of afford him right now in the current climate. I think it's one thing saying that I want to leave, but it's another thing trying to agree a deal with his chairman for any other club. I mean, notorious hard bargainer. David Levy? Daniel Levy. Levi are your genes, Avi. Daniel Levy, it's not Levi. But yeah, Daniel Levy, very hard man to sort of deal with and bargain with, like Gareth Bale deal. You know, if you're looking at Harry Kane, I think you'd look at around the 120 million figure as a ballpoint figure, and I don't think many clubs are in that position to pay that kind of money. He's 27. He's picked up a lot of injuries in recent past. The only club that I can think that are dumb and thick enough to pay that kind of money are Manchester United. They're the only club that would sort of, you know, sign Cavani, sign Martial, you know, restrict Greenwood, who I think is as good as anything in the Premier League in terms of potential. And it's a kind of thing that we done. You know, when we were struggling, we would just spend big money on the likes of Nigel Clough, Colin Moore, you know, Paul Stewart, even at one stage, and all these kind of players And you see Man United making the same mistake, buying.
Wouldn't you, Grizz? Wouldn't you give them Wouldn't you give Lingard and Martial as a bargaining chip? And I think Man City could be dark horses for Kane.
In this day and age. I don't know. I can't think of a swap deal that happens anymore. They're too complicated. Players have to be convinced of going the other way. I mean, how do we know Lingard wants to?
Yeah, I don't see Martial going to Spurs. Do you
know what I mean? So Lingard, why would he want to go to Spurs, for example? So swap deals, as good as they sound on like FIFA and whatnot, they very rarely happen in the real world. They used to happen in the corrupt Italian days of Serie A. So many swap deals, but recently they don't really happen. But it'd be interesting. Harry Kane is an absolute beast of a striker, lads. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's not just because it's Harry Kane and the way he comes across again, and he's a bit of a cheating cunt when he dives around all over the place and gets away with it. But as a goal scorer and as a target man, as a striker, he gets into most teams in world football. So you can imagine so many teams after him.
Yeah, like 100%. I see people in the chat there saying about sponsored by Nike. Will that tend? That's so American. People trying to turn it into the NFL and NBA. That I don't think that's ever. I've never seen that in football until about this year when people were trying to link Mbappe to us. But my issue with Kane is, like you said, the age and the injury kind of record recently, and that price tag. Like when you say it, there is only 2 teams probably in the world stupid enough to buy him, and that is the Manchester clubs. We know Barcelona aren't in a good position financially. Madrid aren't, they're not really looking for anything at the minute. So it's all well and good saying they're going to sell him or he wants to leave, but I can't see anyone picking him up.
Facts. Like, I remember Pete, I was saying maybe the Poch PSG, but he's not leaving England, is he? He doesn't plan to, you think? But the PSG thing I only said because I say easy trophies. They might not win the Ligue 1 this season, but let's be honest, he would pick up titles in Paris if he went. Obviously, he has that link with Poch. If Poch is going to still be there, he probably will be. But if I hate to say it, but I think if Kane goes to City, it just kind of dampens my mood going into the next season. I'm not even going to lie, because
I think it makes sense on every level though. Aguero's leaving. Jesus, is he the prolific striker that Pep wants or needs? I think Kane would be a perfect fit, especially the players that are around him. De Bruyne pinging those passes to him. He's got Gundogan in behind. He's got Sterling. He's got Foden. I think that would be a great move. I don't see the PSG one so much. I just don't think it tempts him to play in the French league. It's apart from this season, it's usually a one-team league. I think it's the first time since Monaco won it back in 2013 or 14 that the La Liga has changed hands. And if Lille do win on Sunday, so I think England. I think Chelsea could go in for him or City.
Would they sell to Chelsea though? I know Levy would ask for 30-40 million over the asking price.
But to be honest with you, Chelsea the only other. I retract my statement about Man United being the Man United are the dumbest team to go for him because they don't need him, I'd say. But Chelsea are the ones with the most financial power this summer, I believe. And I'd say that probably in the world. So, if Roman wants Harry Kane, and I think the key in this would be if Harry Kane would go to Chelsea, being a Spurs man. I don't think he's the type of player to have much loyalty, so he probably would. But if anybody was to outbid or make a substantial bid that would blow anyone out of the water, it would be Chelsea, in my opinion.
Because Kane as well, City played that false nine, and to be honest, I think City look better when they play without a striker. But no bother, he can drop deep, play them passes. You know what I mean? He can get assists as well. Like the only thing, if Kane went to Chelsea, if that went through, I could see or I could see Spurs fans burning down that new stadium. Honestly, like there would be riots. That
Rightly
would be
so. Rightly
They want Joe Lewis and ENIC out already. So yeah, imagine the uproar when if that ever was to occur, that him going to Chelsea. Yeah,
because obviously if Kane goes, it nearly makes Spurs a mid-table club. Let's be honest, it just drops them down right down there. It literally makes Spurs a mid-table club. Could basically hand Chelsea a title. So if that was to happen, I'd love to see what happens outside the Spurs stadium. Peter, do you think he's actually just going to leave, or is this saga just going to roll on, and he ends up staying just because that contract has kind of just kept him out?
Yeah, it could be like another kind of messy thing. He's nearly bigger than the club at this stage, Harry Kane, and they're going to try hold on to him because, you know, he is Tottenham right now. Without him, they are mid-table. It's going to be a weird one, especially with the Euros this summer and everything. There's going to be a really shortened time after it for transfers. So it's going to be a crazy market. It's going to be weird. You can't really predict anything right now, I think, with the whole COVID market. So, look, you'd like to see him win a few trophies, but same time, I wouldn't like to see him at Man City or Chelsea.
Agree.
No, facts. Look, just before we finish up, Grizz, I just have to ask you about Liverpool's transfers. Obviously, you've got the sources. You've got the odd source here and there. Like, what are do you think we could get someone like a Sancho? Like, I wouldn't even contemplate Kane because I just think that's never going to happen with us. Mbappe is just never going to happen. So I don't even really chat about that sort of thing. I think Peter's the same, but who realistically do we need to sign, and who do you think we will kind of be in for? What sort of profile? Like,
when it comes to Liverpool and transfers, FSG have a pattern, and it's quite evident the pattern that they do the bare minimum until it's absolutely necessary, and then they go big. And I think it's fair to say that if you look at their tenure, that's what they've done. So when they first came in, they went huge with Kenny and spent 100 million of their own money. Admittedly, on not brilliant players like Stuart Downing, etc., but they spent the money. And then they slowed down and adopted this money ball approach. And we've seen in more recent times when sort of we needed to go to that next level, when they got Jurgen Klopp, you know, the likes of Virgil van Dijk, Alisson was brought in regardless of the fees and what we had to pay. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know about you guys, but sort of when Virgil van Dijk was quoted 75 million, I'm pretty certain majority of the fan base would have said that rules us out, right? So you would have said back in the day, oh, that's us gone. 60 million for Alisson, was it? Something like that? 65. By the way, I was the first one to talk about the Alisson interest, and Liverpool want him, and I was slaughtered all over social media about, oh please Alisson, you know, we're going to get Jack Butland. That was the bookie's favorite. But you know,
who's laughing now?
Exactly. And same with Virgil van Dijk. I said he will be a Liverpool player. We spent loads of money. We spent Naby Keita, who's not been, of course, a success, but we spent 55 million on him. So the point I'm trying to make is FSG have since we've got the success, I believe they've been, what's the right word I'm looking for, guys? Maybe help me out, Avi. Your command of the English language is better than mine. What's not lazy. They've been
labored,
kind of sat back. Just let Klopp work his magic as opposed to be
he's shadowing them. Basically, he's making them look better than they are, sort of thing.
Absolutely, and you know, as I said, they've not been prompted by Jurgen Klopp as well, because Jurgen Klopp's the kind of coach that doesn't demand shiny new toys. How often does he talk about, you know, oh, I don't want this, I want a small squad. He believes in training, coaching, etc. But I think this is the summer. I think this is the summer that they really go for sort of repairing some of the damage that they've done, especially off the field. A majority of the fan base, or a lot of the fan base, is really up in arms with how they've gone about the ESL thing and whatnot. So I think they've got a lot of work to do, and not only repairing off-field issues, but even on-field, lads. We know what needs to be done. We know we need to bring in a world-class centre-back, or potentially world-class centre-back. We know we need to bring in an efficient central midfielder who's going to take the place of Gini Wijnaldum if Gini Wijnaldum leaves, as is expected. And then we know we need more variety in attack, or let's say another world-class attacker to supplement. So they're the areas that we need to do. And I'm very, very confident that we will do them. In terms of ideas and names of players that we will target, again, the exact same source has told me all the other stories that have come to fruition. Sancho is 100% a target. Now, whether we manage to get him, obviously, is in none of our control. It's up, I wish I signed the checks, but I do know that we have spoke to. Do you know what I mean? For me as well, the story is that we have spoken to Dortmund. It was about 2 Mondays ago. I tweeted it. I haven't heard anything since, but I know the fact that we spoke to them indicates that we are interested. Very much interested. It's not these fake links and we're trying to drum up interest or whatever. We are genuinely interested, and it makes sense. Sancho makes sense, guys. I can see him fitting like a glove in this Liverpool team under Jurgen Klopp, and we also know Jurgen Klopp is a massive fan. He didn't leave Dortmund last year. They wanted 100 million euros for him. I believe that's reduced now. I think they would accept in the region of 75 million euros for him, or pounds for him, I think, sorry. And I think, again, we're known to do that figure. We've proved it with Virgil van Dijk. When we think there's a game changer involved, we do it. And Sancho is definitely a game changer, in my opinion.
Yeah. Duran, Sancho would just be a dream sign. Obviously, he's a player as the player, but I just think the fact he was so heavily linked to United all of last summer, it would just be the ultimate shithouser if we just got him out of nowhere, no real links, then bang, he's holding up a Liverpool top. But yeah, if we can get some deals done, I think with the lads coming back, there's still a big season next year, sort of thing. But Peter, anything else you want to say? We need to be done.
On that, Chelsea are going to go big. City are going to get a new number 9 in. All these teams are going to go big, and if we don't, we're going to get what happened. What's happening to Arsenal. You're going to be left behind, and it's that simple. It really is.
Yeah, facts. Look, hopefully, to be fair to Liverpool, they just kind of get the deal done once they're in for a player. That's what I've kind of noticed with them. There's none of these sagas that go on for that long. But look, it's been a quality show. Thanks again to Grizz and Avi for coming on. Grizz with the sore voice as well. Much appreciated. Avi, thanks for coming on as well.
Thanks for having us on. Thanks for having us on.
Show.
No
really
problem.
Enjoyed that.
No problem at all, guys. Anytime.
Absolutely. Make sure to like the video, guys. Sub if you're new, and we'll be back maybe Wednesday, Friday for a little match review, possibly. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.